Hello, everybody. My name is Richard C. Wilson. I'm the founder of Family Office Club and Billionaires.com. And I have an exciting presentation today. I'm going to talk about the thing which I'm focusing the most of my time on. I think it's going to lead to the most of my growth. Makes me absolutely no money today, but I think it's going to transform our whole company. And just by sharing the journey we're on, I really hope it transforms your business, whether you're a capital raiser, just about to sell your company, already sold your company, or building a big platform over time. So I'm going to talk about billionaire mental models, billionaire strategies. I am studying billionaires with more focus than I believe just about anybody else on planet Earth, and it's a lot of fun. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing through this presentation, everything I've learned so far, and I think you'll see very clearly this is an area that you probably should be investing more of your time in as well, if you're like most of the people who are inside of our investor club called the Family Office Club. So let me take you through the presentation here. First of all, what is Family Office Club? I've spent about $25 million over the last 16 years hosting 250 live events. We've gone to every single event that we've hosted. We've had over 1,000 speakers on stage. We just had 1,100 people last week it was. Felt like yesterday, last week in South Florida, and we had 120 speakers on stage, including 3 billionaires, 8 pro athletes, heads of investor clubs, angel investors, private investors, billion-dollar plus family offices, etc. So we help ultra-wealthy families create their family offices. We put together about 200 of these. We also have closed about $500 million of transactions that we have sourced and structured and closed ourselves. And we have closed 19 transactions with the most active billionaire in our network. I've also written 13 books. I wrote the first book with the word single family office in the name of it. I've written the only book on how to start a family office. I've also written the only book for centimillionaires called Centimillionaire Strategies, as well as about 10 other books. And so we give away a ton of thought leadership, Family Office Podcast, Family Office Club YouTube channel, more than the whole family office industry combined in terms of thought leadership. And that's really how I built my business over the last 16 years. So within that framework, I wanted to explain a few things today and share why we're studying billionaires. First off, most billionaires focus on dominating one or two niche areas and getting really good at investing in those areas. So that's what we're doing as well. We focus on growing our family office club, finding the best-in-class real estate groups in there, but in the operating business niche, we're really focusing only on investing in medical and dental practices. And that laser focus gives us a real edge. By having this type of a focus, we've really been able to grow our media platform, as I spoke about. And we spent 12 years negotiating the purchase of a strategic asset because of that focus, which was Billionaires.com. It took 150 emails following up over 12 years. And we acquired Billionaires.com, and now we're growing it. We also have about a little bit over 10 million followers across all of our social media assets and social media groups at this point. So it's been 16 years, not 15 now. And I want to share with you some of the insights we've gotten. This picture of our team. We've got 20 plus people on our team, and they are how we really get everything done. Here's a picture of Joe Williams. He's on our advisory board. He's the founder of Keller Williams Realty. Many of you know him. They're at just over 170,000 real estate agents globally. I wanted to bring him up because they grew and became the largest real estate brokerage on planet Earth because they don't do things like everybody else. And that's a common theme among the billionaires that I study. Also want to introduce you to myself and my family a little bit. This is my wife here on the left, and these are my 3 daughters on the right. So I've got a house full of girls. My mother-in-law lives with us. We usually have an au pair who lives with us. So house of 6 females. So you can imagine the amount of Taylor Swift that I need to listen to, although she became a billionaire last month, so I guess it's just more billionaire mental models entering my brain, hopefully. My daughter's working out with me in Rome, so us going backpacking with guy friends, us in Everest Base Camp earlier this year in Nepal. It was one of the best trips of my life, definitely recommend it. That's my wife and I going across the Grand Canyon and back in one day. Don't recommend that. That's pretty hard. It took about 23 hours. And then just fun outdoor trips just to get to know me a little bit better. We spend a lot of time creating family offices, and whether you're worth $1 million, $5 million, $20 million, or $200 million, or much more, We find a lot of it comes down to direct investment strategy and being very clear about where you should invest your energy and your capital. One theme across all the families we worked with and with billionaires we're studying is that if you can see deals in one area, one or two areas you really want to focus on, and you see deals first, exclusively, and at a better valuation in those areas, your balance sheet's going to grow, right? Public market work is playing defense. You want to diversify heavily. Real estate work, you want to find best in class. Hopefully some of it provides income. Most of it is hard asset. You sleep at night because the debt isn't too high on it. But you want to play offense in one or two areas as well. And that's a lot of what we help families with. If you need this resource, if you want any of our dozens of resources that are free on helping people start their family office or becoming a more effective private investor, just let us know. This is one of them called the Family Office Dashboard. I want to get into now a reason why you'd want to study billionaires and how to interpret things that you hear during this presentation or from other investors you see on stage. At the end of the day, you don't want to copy what anyone else is doing. You don't want to go to your wealth advisor and say, what should I do with my money? You really need to design your own game board. You need to figure out, how do you win the game you're playing? What do you enjoy? How many hours a week do you want to spend? Do you like income? Do you like equity growth? Is your goal to 10 times your net worth? Or is it to 2 times your income? Or is it to sit on the beach all day or play golf every day? Right? If somebody else designs a game board for you, my experience is they're going to collect $200 every time that you pass go, and they're going to have more fun than you. You want to enjoy your day-to-day life, feel like there's alignment in what you're doing and where your life and your balance sheet is going, and you need to design your own game board. Not me, not your wealth advisor, not your CPA. So I hope some things we mentioned today really help you do so. We talked about these 3 parts a couple minutes ago: diversified market exposure, real estate, and the 1 or 2 niches you want to focus on. And we've found that the most effective investors really diversify their deal flow and how they source opportunities by being in the right communities, positioning yourself right, being proactive, reaching out to asset owners and acquiring choke points, and operating within your niche. And we'll get to those last 2 points later. We're also going to cover that a little bit later. So it is scientifically proven that if you change the input coming into your brain, it changes how you see the world and what comes out the other side, right? Just like if you eat a bunch of processed food and hot dogs and potato chips every day, you can guess what's going to happen. Well, they've scientifically proven that if you digest a whole bunch of violent movies, you have more violent thoughts. If you digest only information coming from Republicans or Democrats for 2 years straight, nonstop, it makes you think and see things more like them, right? We all know this. It's pretty common sense, but it's also scientifically proven. So if you want to learn anything, let's say business, investing, how to get more deal flow, how to invest like a family office, well, you could learn from the best of the best, or you can learn from people who are pretty good at it. And at most investment conferences and most investment books are written by people who are just pretty good at it. So if you want to learn basketball, you could learn from one of the best players at the college level from Duke, or you could learn from Michael, right? Why not listen to books and interviews from Michael Jordan before you'd listen to advice from a college kid, right? That seems obvious, but what I found is that when I have people raise their hand, or we did a survey on stage at our 1,000-person event last week, and we saw in the audience that over 90% of people who have read a couple hundred books in their life had not read more than 20 books from billionaires. Why would that be? Well, typically what I'm finding is people are reading books by those who are really good at marketing their books instead of people who are really good at business, or at least as good at business as billionaires, right? Until you've read every book written by a billionaire, why read books written by anyone else, including myself, honestly, right? Okay, there might be a reason. Maybe somebody wrote a book on how to grow, scale, and sell your manufacturing company. That is such specialized knowledge. Maybe you have to read that book and make an exception. But most of the time, we're just getting recommended books by people who are really good at writing, or really good at marketing their books, or have a big media house behind them. And we should be consuming information from billionaires. I've read over 60 books from billionaires now. Here are some of the best books I have read. I would encourage you to take a quick screenshot of this and go buy 3 to 5 of these books right away. What It Takes by Steve Schwarzman, the bottom left-hand corner, killer book. The first 2 books up there by Tillman and Mark Cuban, fastest books to read here. and then Am I Being Too Subtle on the right by Sam Zell, another amazing book. I would start with those if you're not sure where to start. There's over 1,000 videos from billionaires on YouTube. How many of you watched? Probably only 1 or 2, or 5 or 10. Have you even consumed 1% of the insights that are basically free in the world from billionaires? Probably not. So what I'm doing is going around and interviewing billionaires. We have billionaires on stage doing fireside chats with us. We had 3 billionaires at our event last week. We have 2 billionaires booked to speak at our Beverly Hills event coming up in March. And my goal is to interview 100 billionaires and ask them 3 powerful questions each, and then post all of that for free on billionaires.com. As I learn, selfishly, it's just going to help me, but also if we create this resource, I think it'll create a community. We can make connections between billionaires, our company, and you, hopefully all become stronger. So what I'm going to do now is provide about 15 insights directly from billionaires. This first one is from Evan Pagan, who was one of my mentors early on, and I'm still friends with him today. He got to interview and ask a single question to Steve Jobs and Bill Gates on the same day at a tech conference. He went up to them and said, "How are you so successful? How did you do it?" And Steve Jobs and Bill Gates both started out with the same response. They both said, "Oh, well, not everything has been successful. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but..." And then they went different directions. So it's interesting, they admitted they made tons of mistakes. They were far from perfect. And they started out prefacing that, right? They're humble enough to know, like, yeah, I'm not a business god. I've made lots of mistakes along the way. And Steve Jobs answered saying, "I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but you know what's really important?" And then he paused for a second and he said, "You know what? You just really have to care." And that was a completely different response than Bill Gates. Bill Gates said, "Well, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. We just reinvest in the winners. But most important was having one big winner, in their case, Microsoft Windows, and then hiring really smart managing directors to grow other divisions of the company." And I thought those were both very interesting answers, both powerful answers, and they both admitted right up front that they make mistakes and they've made many decisions they would have not done again over time. You know, Richard Branson is one of the most well-known billionaires. He's had many companies that have failed, but he also has 500 companies that are alive and existing today. And he finds a 50-50 partner like Steve Schwarzman from Blackstone that's really powerful, and then he creates a new business. But he's also not perfect. You know, one of his businesses was Virgin Brides. They couldn't find enough customers or any customers, I guess. And so that's one of them that failed. You know, many billionaires have things that fail along the way. In fact, all of them do. Jeff Hoffman is the most powerful speaker we've ever had at any of our conferences. He had half of the room in tears when he spoke. He's going to do a fireside chat with me in Beverly Hills on March 5th. And his talk, that's the best talk we've ever had, is recorded. You can stream it for free on billionaires.com. So I'll leave you with some suspense on why it's the best talk, but it's amazing. You have to check it out. One of the best books you can read is Tillman Fertitta's book, Shut Up and Listen. Instead of summarizing these books real quick, for time's sake, I'm just going to show the title and really recommend that you read them here. But I wanted to reemphasize this one because it's such an easy read and there's such condensed knowledge and insight here. Steve Schwarzman mentioned it earlier. Number one takeaway was the octopus model of having a really strong core and then developing these tentacles that go out, but they make the octopus stronger, and that you get information from here and it helps over here. The whole body can change shape based on what the animal is sensing, and you don't get that if you have only one element to your business in one industry with one perspective. It's not as multifaceted understanding of what's going on in the economy or in your industry. Mark Cuban's book, number one takeaway, was that business is really a 24/7 game, and you basically have to study your niche more than everyone else and just know it cold. Larry Namer was on stage with us. He created the E-Channel, sold it for $1 billion. He is the only billionaire that I know of who, by becoming wealthy, just hired smarter people all around him. He never worked himself to death. He never worked 16 hours a day. He just hired the smartest people possible and was very humble about the whole thing. Everyone else who's a billionaire that I know of who says, sleep enough, be healthy, don't work really, really, really hard, said that after working really, really hard, and it makes people think, did you become a billionaire because you grinded so hard and now you're enlightened? You don't have to work as hard because you have all this momentum. Everyone knows who you are. It's an interesting situation, but Larry Namer is an example of someone who just worked smart, and I'm sure he worked hard, quote unquote, but not the 12-hour, 16-hour days that a lot of people associate with being super successful. Grant Cardone, he spoke on stage at our events a few times, and the number one thing that stands out to me after reading his books is just being obsessed about your mission and being doggedly persistent. You can see that through all of his writings, all of his success, so that's something I've taken away from him. Don Winter, had a 2-hour meeting with him recently. He's under 40 years old, manages $6 billion in assets, and for him it's all about being an excellent leader, about being very consistent, very strategic, lots of detailed planning, and he's just a very steady business professional, and he's created enormous wealth for himself at a young age, but also for all of his investors as well. Howard Marks is someone I wanted to mention during this presentation because of where the economy is at. He wrote a book called The Most Important Thing. Number one takeaway I got from this book, which is better than I thought it would be, is that when the market's getting bad and people stop investing as quickly, which is where we are right now, is when there'll be better opportunities because less people are buying, so you can get a discount, whether that's 10%, 25% off the normal price of something. When everything looks toxic and everyone thinks that you are really dumb to be investing right now, and it's the last thing you should ever do is put money in, that's when you get deals of a lifetime, he says. When everyone else thinks you have no sense investing right now is when you get amazing deals. And I thought that was really interesting and timely advice for where we are in the economy. I interviewed Tony Robbins, and he said he made $400 million off of one transaction because of who he was hanging out with. This is what Family Office Club is all about. It's what Billionaires.com is all about. I don't know what is going to come from interviewing 100 billionaires, but I think only good things. Tony also mentioned that when you go into owner mode and not operator mode, and you're not turning the cranks yourself, but you're working on the system, he said that he works less hard now with billions in revenue across all of his 110 companies than he did when he did 10 million a year in revenue, because he was turning all the cranks. So he elevated into owner mode and everything changed. So there's a lot of insights you can get by going to Billionaires.com, watching the videos, watching the interviews. Some of the most common themes are work ethic, curiosity, excitement about what you're doing, demanding excellence, thinking big, what others are not doing, not following the herd. Those things come up over and over and over, and I get asked what comes up most often. Those are the things that come up most often. This is my favorite quote from any billionaire. Mark Cuban says, "It's not about the money or connections. It's your ability to outwork and outlearn everyone else." I think that's a great equalizer, and I can completely relate to it. I started my business with no money, no capital, no backers. We don't have a big brother partner or any debt today on the business. We built it all organically by learning our niche and sharing what we've learned along the way. So I can really relate to what he's saying here, and I really believe in it. So I just want to share that quote with you. I also wanted to share the strategy of acquiring choke points. This was something I got from Vern Harnish's book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. Evan Pagan told me I needed to read that book if I wanted to scale my business. And when I started my investor club, we hit 7 figures in revenue our third year in business. And acquiring strategic choke points has really changed everything for us. We're the number one social media influencer in the family office industry globally by far, with 10 million followers. We're the number one social media influencer in dentistry, or the largest social media group, at least in that industry. And we have a lot of things that once we've acquired it, it's harder for others to acquire, and we get more momentum, and we can acquire the next choke point that much easier. So in the movie 300, you can see an army of 300 fending off 5,000 people in the Middle East. There's a lot of conflict going on around this area, around the Red Sea, where over a third of the world's oil flows through there. It's such a strategic choke point geographically in the world that almost every major country has a military base there. So you can see on this slide, in 2008, we had the number one website in the family office industry, which is ultra-wealthy families, essentially. That helped us grow the number one largest association, helped us get a book deal with Wiley, a book deal with Bloomberg, helped us buy familyoffices.com. That helped grow our conferences. We then had the number one event series in the industry, and then the best-selling book in the industry, and then we were able to acquire Billionaires.com and hit 10 million social media followers. And we see each of these choke points is helping us get the next choke point. But importantly, I didn't have a ton of money to invest in these, and I like to choose choke points that just take elbow grease, learning, and hard work for the most part. One thing I've been doing recently that maybe you could copy or at least do 15 minutes of a day is trying to inject my brain with 1 hour of billionaire mental models every single day. I try to listen to my Audible at 2.5x speed, at the slowest 1.5x speed. It depends on who's reading the book. But I'll only read, 5 or 10 books a year that are not on Audible. Most of it is through Audible. I'm trying to get through a couple of billionaire books every week. Otherwise, it's going to take me years to get through the next 180 billionaire books I need to read to get all 240 read. And I share this with you because it's scientifically proven that what goes into your brain influences what comes out. And what do you think is going to happen if you get a whole bunch of billionaire mental models and strategies injected into your brain every day? Only great stuff, right? So this helps you run your business, helps you hire, helps you be a better leader, helps you prioritize your health, helps you with your investment portfolio, helps you manage risk, helps you on negotiation and deals. All the time I'm hearing inputs that help me with my investments from reading these billionaire books. So it's super critical. It's more important than anything else you can do to improve your business investment results. And importantly, I do not read any books written about billionaires. If somebody wants to study a billionaire's life and guess at what they're thinking, okay, cool, that's somewhat interesting. But if you can read the exact words that came out of the billionaire's mouth to a dictator or that the billionaire wrote down themselves, why would you not do that first instead of other people who are hoping they capture what a billionaire stood for? It's like, well, I want to hear directly from the billionaire. I don't care how bad the grammar is. I don't care how badly written it is. I want the exact words from the billionaire, right? So one thing I'm finding, though, is that people look at billionaires or ultra-wealthy people. They often say, oh, they work so hard. I would never want to work that hard. I would never want to make that sacrifice. But many times they love the game they're playing. They love the business they're running. They love the challenge. They love the game of it all. And they're excited about the exponential projects they're working on. It's not just seen as like, oh, I got to work hard just for the love of money. Got to make more money. Got to get that money. It's not how they act at all. It's not how they work at all. They're usually generous. They're excited. They're creative. They're very regimented on how they spend their time and invest their energy. They almost all wake up early. They almost all get an enormous amount of things done per hour. And I wanted to show my sent email box from my Gmail. I've sent 161,000 emails since I started my business. That's a lot of emails. And people often say, oh, Richard, why are you working on this? Why are you working so hard? Why don't you relax while flying home from the conference? And sometimes I do. If I feel like relaxing, I relax. But many times I'm working on some very exciting projects that I can't wait to put more energy into. So when I'm flying home, I might be sitting in first class and no one else is working. Most of the time, at maximum, one other person is. Everyone else is just pure relaxing, which is totally fine. But at the end of the day, you have to wonder if that's always the case on every flight, and if that is how most people operate. Are they really excited about what they're doing? Or are they just punching in the clock? And it doesn't matter if it's the middle of the day, a 10-hour flight, a 17-hour flight. This is true on just about every flight I go on. So it's just interesting to see and compare. If you're not excited about what you're doing, then stop doing it and do something else. This strategy, brute force reciprocation, I wanted to share with you because this has really changed my life. When I was in high school, I cold called everybody in the Yellow Pages that had a computer-related business, and I got a job doing creating websites for local Indian-owned Indian business owners in a local community, and that's how I learned to create websites. When I got out of college, everyone wanted to pay me $30,000 a year, so I cold called everybody in the Portland, Oregon Chamber of Commerce, got hired as a risk consultant, and I made $100,000 my first year out of my undergrad, which was more than my professors were being paid by the university the year before, who told me, don't graduate a year early, take your time, enjoy school, suck it in, and I was impatient and wanted to get out of school. When I started my business, it was the same mental approach of trying a lot of things in education to make my website take off and get 5,000, 7,000 hits a day. It's the same thing now with figuring out billionaires.com. It's trying hundreds and hundreds of combinations of what works, what doesn't work, experiments, A/B testing, and putting out a lot of potential ideas and irons in the fire to see what clicks and what really resonates, and then doubling down on anything that really works. That's really been key to my success, and I see that in some other very successful people, like a Joe Williams, like a Mark Victor Hansen, who spoke on stage at our event last week, is the author and creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, as well as billionaires such as Jeff Hoffman or Richard Branson, etc. So for me, realizing this as a strategy, as a mental model, has helped me because now I lean in on that. And anytime I see a situation where I could approach it Grant Cardone style and take 30 different actions to make something happen, or try 5 different approaches to getting something done at once, then it's massively helpful and everything goes much better. And I really think that luck is a 4-letter word for a reason. It's really opportunity meeting hard work is why you get results, and it's nothing to do with luck. So last couple slides here, and I'll wrap up. Munger recently passed away, and he talked about often cutting out toxins and anchors. Billionaires bring this up often. Cut out energy vampires, get rid of bad deals, get rid of mediocre employees, bad JV partners, maybe you have an employee or two that produces great results, but they really hurt the culture of your team, get rid of them too. Then you won't be slowed down by all those painful things. Life will be more enjoyable. You'll be more excited to work with your team. And one thing I've found while studying a lot of billionaires is that because of their expectation of excellence and their demand for things that go well, because they have some things that have gone very, very well, so why put up with anything that's not? They grow exponentially because they know themselves very well, and as Dan Sullivan would call it, they know their unique ability, what they're excellent and passionate at, what their world. So when you layer knowing yourself that well on top of the layers of good partners, good employees, very profitable business models, very well capitalized, you grow exponentially. If you have all those things but no capital, you grow more slowly. If you have all those things but bad employees, you grow much more slowly. There's friction in the system. But by stacking all these things on top of each other, they explode in an exponential growth. And that's one big takeaway that I'm trying to learn and have a higher level of excellence for the work done by my team, but also the work I put out, but also that expectation around me. When something is really not at a level of excellence, I'm like, why is this existing in my world? This should not be here. And I remove it from the system. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same. So corollary to that would be, it is not fun if you have lots of friction in your system. It is not fun to have a bad employee, be in a bad business. It's not fun to work on things that you're not world-class at. The feedback just isn't there, and you know in your gut it's a waste of your time. And so I've had this theme for a couple of years now of having the most fun year of my life. And it's not just about going to 5 countries, or like we're just booking our trip right now for Machu Picchu. And we're going to be going to Kilimanjaro this next year as well, and on 2 backpacking trips with my guy friends. It's not just about the fun travel. That's exciting. It is fun. But your day-to-day needs to be fun, or the person who's more passionate, more excited, is just going to run circles around you. So I'd encourage you to have the most fun year of your life as well. Cut out being on those 2 boards that take 4 hours per board meeting of your time and waste a lot of your time talking about the same things over and over again that could have been handled via email mostly. I would quit those boards. Fire the employees that you should not be having on your team. Get rid of the joint venture or the partnership that wastes your time. Bite the bullet, have the tough conversation, and have the most fun year of your life day to day, right? How do you make every week more fun? How do you make every day, every month more fun? How do you have things that you can look forward to all the time? For me, it means when I host an Investor Club Summit, I script the discussion panel questions for all 16 discussion panels for our annual 3-day event. It means for me, when I'm interviewing billionaires, I come up with the 3 questions I'm curious about, and I hope a large percentage of people who read them find those questions and their answers interesting too. For me, it means when we have pro athletes on stage and they are 0.1% top performers, I ask 5 questions that are interesting and exciting and would help me elevate my health, business, investments. So for you, it's going to mean something different to me. But having the most fun year of your life could mean playing golf. It could mean going to 20 countries. It could mean going on a few road trips with your kids or your parents, etc. And I just encourage you to do that, because if you're a happier human, it's probably a better definition of success than you having another $1 million to your net worth or having another $200,000 in passive income. And at the end of the day, it's more important. Most of us would rather have the same level of net worth but be happier. But what I'm telling you is, because of this stacking issue, stacking opportunity, is that you can have both. You can be happier because your standard of excellence is higher. You can be happier because now your business is more exciting. You got rid of the most painful parts of your business. You got rid of the most painful things that you were spending your time on, and you added in some fun things like adventure travel with your high school, college friends, or best friends, or family reunions, etc. And when you combine all that, it just makes life more exciting, more fast-moving, and you just don't want to do things that are lame and frustrating. As Joe Polish talks about, you want easy, lucrative, and fun, not hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, right? So I'd encourage you all to explore that idea a bit further as well. So that's it for my time today, right about 30 minutes. Wanted to share those thoughts with you as kind of my latest thoughts on Billionaires. I am working on a one-page cheat sheet infographic on all the Billionaire takeaways summarized in one page. If you want access to that, if you want access to any of my books here or any of the resources to help you be a more effective private investor, we have something called the $1 Million Private Investors Playbook. It helps you level up your offensive and defensive game as an investor. It has due diligence tools in there, the dashboard tool, lists of billionaire books you could read, all that type of stuff. Just shoot me a text message would be the easiest. It's 305-333-1155. Or you can shoot me an email, just richard@investorclub.com. If you're curious about our live events and our in-person community, just go to familyoffices.com. It's familyoffices.com. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you got some takeaways from it. I hope you read some of those billionaire books. Check out billionaires.com. And I'd love to keep in touch, and hopefully we get to meet in person one day. Thank you.